Howdy, folks.
Hey there. I'm here listening in from the porch for a little bit until I have to go and pick up my daughter at
Well,
camp.
we can adjust the um, symposium topic to cover it right up front, if that's very helpful. And there's our main man Wenjing.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, it's yeah. It's funny, but I'm having to get back to people in little squares. It's this 7 weeks has been the longest stretch that I've been away from, regular Zoom meetings you know, since Zoom. So,
Yeah.
I
Since
mean,
2020, right?
well, I know actually I started using Zoom. I was one of the because the what was Respect Network that eventually merged with Evernym. Because we had a virtual team, I started using Zoom in like 2012.
Wow.
So I spread Zoom. I mean, I should have gotten commissions on you know, everybody you wanted to have meetings with, and they were using, web meeting or,
Oh, yeah.
just these GoToMeeting. And I'm like, no, 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 I'll send you a Zoom link, and it was only, $15 a month for the whole company. And so we probably converted at least 100, 200 people to using Zoom. And this is long before yeah. So anyway, we had
Yeah, whatever that Cisco crap was that we had at my other university.
yeah, exactly. Well, it was
Yeah.
it was web meeting. They bought web meeting.
Okay.
It's funny because I mean
WebEx.
WebEx. Thank you,
WebEx.
thank you, thank you, WebEx.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
did you
Yeah.
know the guy who started Zoom was a WebEx engineer?
Y-
It makes sense.
yeah, I know both of them. The
You
WebEx
do?
founder, dude. Yeah. Yeah,
I
WebEx.
tell you,
Founder.
Wenjig's the true OG on this stuff. Sam, how are ya?
Good stuff.
This fine.
I've not seen Sam Smith in 7 weeks. Yeah.
That's because you've been absent without leave.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, and just
AWOL.
while Drummond and Sam are here, Drummond, remember the URN idea for getting URN said?
Yeah, yeah.
I pitched it to Sam and it's a working group now or a task force now. So we just have to finish the application and then we could have URN said. I note that multi-hash does not have a URN, so that could be our chance.
I'm all over it. I love it. And I'm glad you went straight to the Godfather. So, you've been blessed. Yeah,
Well,
fantastic.
she's doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah, Carly's doing a lot of heavy lifting, which is why, and during the short period we have her, I want to make sure she can do the pitch on starting the preparation for the symposium in October, which is on her agenda, but we'll move it up if she only has a little bit of time. So, Mr. Bockenheimer, I'm glad to see you're still alive and moving. Yeah, I'm re-meeting people after 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So you were in like Africa on safari or something? Is that where you were?
Yeah, this trip was San Francisco, New York, Amsterdam just on the way to Kilimanjaro, which I climbed with my two sons. Then 5 days of safari in Serengeti, then 4 days in Cape Town, all just amazingly awesome. And then 5 days in Geneva for we had a first person planning meeting, and then the Global Digital Collaborative. Wenjing was there. And then 4th of July in Boston with my sister, a family reunion in Maine for a week. And then this last week was a bizarre event in Greece that where I was really there to get this other project called Now Genesis, NAO, Network Adaptive Organism. It's very cutting edge, but they are building, what we're now calling a personal network manager. And I was there to sell them on Trust ORP and First Person Project. And I think I was 95% successful. We still have to reel them in the last little bit, but I'm working on it. So yeah, that was the whole trip, Sam. It was,
Wow.
but
Sounds exciting.
yeah, that's why I was AWOL for, you know, a good period, but totally loved it. Only time I've crossed the Atlantic twice in the same trip. All right, well, it looks like this is our group here today. As we get into this part of summer, it's, it's hit or miss, but I think we have the core folks. We do have, I've actually, I was like, how do I create those agenda pages again? Anyway, let me share my screen and let's kick off this this meeting formally. It's that right there. I'll move these. No, actually, I want that to be over there. Sorry, I'm also, readjusting everything on a non-corporate machine, so I don't have some of the constraints I used to have. Okay, so welcome everyone to our July 23rd Trust Spending Task Force meeting. And as always, we share our antitrust policy and our special in the technical stack working group additional policy that about our 45-day exclusion period. And welcome. I want to welcome one person. He may have been attending, but I have been gone, as you just heard, for 7 weeks. Victor Liu, are you new to this working group, or have you been attending and I just haven't been here?
This is second time.
Excellent. Okay. Well, since I haven't met you yet, I'm Drummond Reed. I'm one of the co-chairs of the working group, and really a massive evangelist for the trust spending protocol. That feels like my job now is to travel the world with Wenjing and Sam and like, do you use this? Okay, so anyway, do you want to do a brief introduction so at least I can say that I've met you?
Yeah, I'm a generalist. You can say I do a lot of evangelism myself, not for any particular thing, just learning things. And I found the FAI trust to be very interesting, especially now that there's a huge question mark about trust in AI agent. That's why I'm here to follow what's going on here and what the protocol is about.
Yeah, Victor and I also met in the W3C community group focused on agent protocol. So he's very knowledgeable. He's really expert in this area. So welcome, Victor.
Thank you.
It is super. I mean, I know from the presentation we gave at Global Digital Collaborative in the track that you help run there, the AI, AI agent track. The session that you hosted, Wenjing, had the most energy and standing room only folks wanting to know about trust and AI agents. And I want you to know I took your slides from that, right? And I have shown them every single meeting I've had since then. Because it's just it's the easiest way to go, well, this is why you want to use TSP. You want to have agents talk, trusted agents, and start with, TMCP, A2A. Fantastic. Okay, well, it's great to meet you, Victor, and we'll dive in. Our agenda today is pretty simple. The first thing we've already partially accomplished, just general sync up, since I have been gone for 7 weeks. And I did, by the way, Sam said AWOL, but I did tell everyone I'm gone for 7 weeks. So
No, I was just
I know.
teasing you.
I know. But I do have a couple stories to tell about, I just told one. I'll tell you a couple others about progress I think we're making out there. So cover that, and then I personally want to get updated. I've saw a couple messages. I'm trying to catch up on all. You imagine 7 weeks. I have not been on Slack at all during that period, so I want to just catch up. State of the spec, any open issues, and then I suggest if we only have Carly for a little bit, let's actually move. I love it. I can literally there's these new editing tools. I can move it right up here, and bingo, you're now first on the agenda, Carly. Yeah, the only action item is to that I found from the last meeting notes was that Wenjing was still working on. But I saw something about you've already made certain updates. So anyway, we'll get to that agenda item. But starting with Carly, do you want to give a
Do the brief
intro?
pitch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brief pitch for where we're going. Carly and I were able to sync up on this yesterday, so I'll let her do the lead in.
Yeah, so everybody, most of you have, I believe, heard the pitch before. So Trust River IP is having its 5-year symposium. Symposium is October 15th to 16th. We're still working out details, but what we would like to do is have every working group and task force who would like to present their work on day one in like a CEO-ish C-suite level kind of overview of what their task force is producing and why it's important. That's going to be either, we think, either a 30-minute or a 60-minute chunk. Then on day two, that will invite those same working groups and task forces to optionally either run a workshop or sponsor a discussion forum or something like that. And so the workshop would be more for people who are implementing or getting more deeply into it. And we wanted that so that we could encourage people to start to really understand in depth what's going on and how to make things work. We had also wanted every working group and task force to talk about their example in the using all the same use case, which is this regenerative agricultural trust mark thing. And the reason is that might help everyone relate what is being presented to a user story, a use case that is consistent for the whole thing. That's everything. Any questions?
Would it be possible, Ali, I was thinking about the agriculture use case to include maybe not one, but potentially 2 use cases. The reason is some of the scenarios
Yep.
are more personal.
Yep.
Like for example, travel is a very personal thing.
Yep.
Versus other, so we don't need like many of them, but maybe 2 or potentially 3 would be good
Yeah.
to choose from.
Okay, so do you want to propose then a use case? And if it is at all possible to kind of relate it to the other
Yeah.
use case, because then it might be like, the Sally Steer wants to travel to the regenerative agricultural symposium, and so she
See.
is booking this,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I see the point. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. So we allow the other
Yes.
yeah scenarios to be included. Yeah.
Not a problem. I know that I'm not so familiar with all the groups at Trust Over IP, so I know that the use cases I proposed were restricted. So by all means, let's expand it and add it to the use case slide deck, and I'll put a link to that in the chat.
Thank you. That would be perfect. I will add that link to the notes. I'm also thinking, literally, if I think about, okay, illustrating what, for us to be able to have a, robust session on TSP, this topic we already talked about, which is its relevance to agentic AI. So I want to put in a plug, and I'm not just, hey, it's not a conference without AI. I'm not a subscriber to that, but in this particular case, I think it is very relevant. I mean, well, anyway, we're going to get into what we could talk about, but again, I've already said, I think that Wenjing, what you're proposing, and I think already, working on implementing, of showing how agent-to-agent communications can be trusted using TSP I mean, if someone asked me just, hey, what's the one topic we should talk about, I would say that one, because I already know the interest is intense. So and we could, you know, if we can tie that into a use case that fits in this set, that would be my vote right away. And but hey, this is the topic we're here. I'm not. I mean, we want to make sure we start discussing this so we have time to prepare. You know, it's what, August, September, it's 3 months away, or just about 3 months away. But we just wanted to, you know, get it on the radar and start talking about that. Carly, did you put yes? Thank you. I'm going to copy what you just said into the notes. Are there any other, at this point, thoughts while we have Carly, that folks want to, on this topic of preparing something? If we would, and those use cases to this stop. There we go. Well, that's interesting. Why? I've never seen this behavior. I know this is the, you know, the confluences. I mean,
Yeah, that Confluence does that now.
Yeah.
okay. So what is this last little thing here? Connect to your Google account.
Gosh,
I
for
think
me,
it's a suggestion. It's trying to ask you to connect so it will be easier integration, and I ignore them.
Okay. All right. Is that going to show up when I publish the page?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to worry about it then.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, Carly, anything else you want to say about the symposium?
Nope. I hope that we can make it work. And then with more commitments, then we can start publicizing with Linux Foundation more widely.
Got it. Well, I personally feel, you know, it's like if you're, I know we want to recruit all the, you know, working groups and task forces, but I feel like, well, this task force, you know, put us down. We will absolutely. In fact, the one thing I'll ask is, if we have the option of 30 or 60 minutes, and there's only what, how many hours of talks are we talking about in the first day, Carly?
Yeah,
don't-
we can do more than one if allowed.
We have started laying out an agenda, but what time? Because it also covers time zones, right? And we're
Yeah.
recording them. So I think we can go for like a very long day and have them recorded.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. We're actually, so folks can pick that, and if they can't attend at that time, they know they can do a recording.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I'm giving, you know, I'm suspecting, I mean, one idea is we do 30-minute talks, but on very, you know, compelling topics like, you know, Wenjing, you could do one 30-minute talk just on, you know, use of TSP with agentic AI, right?
Mhm.
I suspect Sam doesn't really like to talk about, you know, things like Carrie. He just likes to work
Carrie.
on the code. He doesn't really like to evangelize it very much. So you know, anyway, I'm being facetious. So Sam, would you you know, would you want to take a slot to talk about TSP and Carrie and, you know, sort of?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So Carly, you already have two, and
So you know what, Drummond, now that we're getting more specific, what I think
yeah.
we should do for the symposium, talk about it on Thursday, is that we should put up a share a form for people to fill out about the topics that they want to present and how long they want to do it for. So day 1 topics, day 2 workshops, and then the affiliated talks as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So I guess we'll close on this topic by just saying, Carly and I agreed yesterday, the Thursday meeting of the Ecosystem Governance Working Group is a planning meeting for the symposium. So not that anyone has to attend, but if you do care about that, feel free. But I love that suggestion. We'll figure that out, and whatever we come up with in terms of like forms, we'll then get it out to everyone. But I feel like we're well prepared, and that we have at least 2 talks that we would plan to do. And I also like the idea of a workshop, but we got to kick that around.
Yeah, because the workshop couldn't, maybe it's not functional, but the workshop might be like, let's go really into details about something specific so somebody could walk away with enough knowledge to maybe implement or something.
Or it's get your hands dirty type of thing. Yeah. Well, and then the thing is, once again, there's 2 code bases that could, be used to give workshops. So we might, I don't personally, as a steering committee member, I don't feel any hesitation about, call it, over-indexing on TSP, because TSP is the cornerstone or the keystone of our stack. And that's why I'm shouting it to the rooftops, because it's ready and folks are building real stuff with it, and we want to get that word out there. So yeah, so we deserve over-representation.
Right.
I would really like to attend those talks to learn much more about why it is so integral to the stack.
Oh, I have to say one more thing about what you and I talked about, Carly, yesterday, because I've been thinking about it. As you know, Carly's deep in the use of trust in the academic and research areas. And I was talking to her about, first person project, and how we're not just talking about proof of personhood, but the essence of, digital sovereignty is control over your own keys and being able to sign things with the appropriate keys associated with the persona that you want to share. And you complete the story, Carly. So what did you say?
I can't remember. Was that about the orchid dids?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what was the use case that you immediately jumped to?
Yeah, for digital rights management, and to be able to sign data sets and stuff like that, I need to have an IRI identifier to use for people. And Orchid would be a really great option because it's an accessible identifier for accessible, globally unique identifier for people involved in the academic space.
So the point being, if you have an ORCID ID and what you want to start to be able to do is start to digitally sign documents, well, ORCID IDs were not at all designed to do that. But if you can bind the ORCID ID to to a DID, and then use a trust task to do that signing, there's a huge audience out there for doing that. And it's a pretty straightforward application of what we're doing with the Trust ORP stack. So I just wanted,
I'd love to work on that and get it into a pitch and turn it into something implementable, and we can talk about that.
yeah, exactly. So anyway, I just wanted, I thought it was such a clear and compelling use case, which, by the way, directly parallels the need for content creators to be able to do the same thing with C2PA content credentials, right? So anyway, all good stuff. Thank you, Carly, very much. You're welcome to, stay with us for the rest of our topic.
Yeah.
But
I'll listen in for another 15 minutes.
Cool. Excellent. I'm just going to put a note. I'm going to go to do on ORCID. I can't remember exactly how it's spelled. I think that's it. Okay. Moving along on our topics. I'll just quickly share that in addition to Global Digital Collaborative, I had 2 other sort of meetings, audiences to spread the Trust ORP and TSP gospel. One was in South Africa, in Cape Town, a wonderful woman named Anushka Soma Patel, that some of you may know. She's like Miss SSI of South Africa. And she got together a meeting there because I'd never been. They've been, trying to get more folks there. On my final day, I was there. So you got a meeting of about 25 people together, sort of the heart of the SSI community there. And, they wanted, I took the opportunity to talk to them. It was 2 hours, and about an hour was on the first person project. The whole first hour was just discussion of what is happening to space, how are things moving forward. And of course, that they were keenly interested in, well, what is happening at Trust ORP and with TSP and with, AI agents. And I showed your slides, Wenjing, right?
Right.
Exactly. I had, it's just an obvious thing. And again, the interest is intense. They were like, suddenly TSP was like on the radar in a way that it hadn't been before. And then the last meeting in Greece, where I was for a week, as I said, that was a week-long intensive on building, tools for digital sovereignty, but specifically something that's now being called, and I'm just going to share the term with you, a personal network manager. Actually, personal network manager and a community network manager. The idea being all of us with Trust RAP, we can all have trusted relationships as individuals with other people, but with any form of a trust community. And I emphasize, I'm using that term more, trust community, because it's the easiest way to draw a big circle around any kind of a group that's not an individual person, right? Anyway, from a small group to, a legal entity of any kind, right? Or even informal social groups, legal groups, nonprofit, for-profit, all the way up to governments, right? Any way we socially organize to achieve more than we can as individuals. The tool an individual needs to connect and interact in a digitally sovereign way with either people or trust communities is a personal network manager, but the communities need a community network manager. So we're just, that whole week we were using those two terms because the goal of that group that was meeting in Greece is they're forming essentially a cooperative, the easy way to put it, to build those out. Open source, it's all open source. And my job coming there was to basically convince them, use a Trust RAP stack for your whole trust infrastructure, use first person for proof of personhood, and that piece. And like I said, I think I was 95% successful. Of all the slides I showed them, and I had an entire day, not with the whole group, but with a subset. I'd say the ones they were most excited about was understanding, because they see agents for individuals and for communities, and agent-agent dialogue is a key piece of what they're building. When I showed them Wenjing, your slides on, TMCP and TA2A, it was just like, they almost elevated. They got it. They're close enough to the problem set that they just were like, wow, how can we learn more about that? I just literally got a message this morning from one of the developers saying, can you share those slides again? Where do I find out more information about that? So I'm just sharing. I think we're onto a super hot topic there. And that is, if we're talking about, adoption of what we've been working on for 5 years, that's where it's going. So that's what I wanted to share. I'm curious. I know, Wenjing, you're headed down that direction. Sam, Dan, Victor, what are you thinking about that? And is that topic as hot, or am I just, being myopic?
Trying to start video here. There
Yep, we see it, Dan.
Yep. So no, I do think as digital identity is getting more adoption, probably slower than we all would hope. People are understanding the importance of the trust framework, and as they do that, they're seeing. I believe that they're seeing that a binary trust, oh, you're on a trust list or you're not, is not sufficient. I think people are understanding, well, what level of trust and what do I trust this entity to do, whether you're an issuer or a verifier, especially as we're seeing in MDL space where they had VICALs and now they're working on RICALs for reader trust. It's getting more and more granular. How do I understand this trust relationship within my ecosystem and beyond my ecosystem? And it's what we've been saying for the last years. How do I trust this entity to do this operation? How much do I trust this entity to do this operation? So I think it's evolving very slowly. And as people get more exposure to digital identity, they're going to be asking these type of questions. Well, why should I trust this entity to do that? And you're developing the answers.
Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other thoughts about that that particular use of TSP? Okay, no need to over-index on it.
The only
Go
other
ahead.
thing I would say is you're with and I know we've all been exposed a bit to, again, the slow moving SIDI city, that entity, mostly out of OpenID, that's seeking to have this globally interoperable digital identity. And I keep on invoking what I just said, that trust over IP through the trust spanning protocol and the trust registry query protocol is trying to at least set up that layer of interaction so that so you can attain global interoperability across ecosystems.
Yep, exactly.
I try to keep us alive in that context. I'm not sure how much impact they're going to have this sustainable interoperable digital identity group is going to have, but I'm trying to keep that alive.
Yeah. And I think then the fine grain or look at the other way, scalability is a big issue, because I think a lot of existing systems, they were just not designed for this type of use. And I think eventually people, initially it's natural that developers want to reuse and maybe patches things up and do a little bit of a change. But in the end, I think that whole approach, it's not going to scale. And that's hopefully that's what we will eventually convince people, and that's where transition and adoption will happen.
Will not scale. Yeah. Again, I'm just sharing the experience that at least the audiences I'm talking to, I think they're already convinced about that, which is why they get excited pretty quickly. Carly, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just really quick. It's the terms for when you are giving the permission to do this or that. It sounds like that kind of structure looks very much like ODRL, Open Digital Rights Language, where you're saying that for this digital asset, I am assigning you the rights and the prohibitions and the duties to do these actions on that digital asset. And that is expressed with an ontology. The model is ODRL. And if you don't have that, I bet you'll be getting it.
ODRL. I've seen more and more references to ODRL. I'm curious, is that coming up, Wenjing, for you or Sam or Dan in agent-to-agent interactions?
This is always open, I guess, digital rights language.
Yeah, Open Digital Rights Language, ODRL. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not I've seen references to it, and you know, this whole question of permissioning and you know, it's not an access control language. It's more a permissioning or, you know, rights
It needs to
management
be
language.
then interpreted by an engine into the specific actions and controls that a system would use.
I see. So more like a contract, I guess.
Yeah, machine readable contract. So, and then you're giving the definitions. So like, International Data Spaces is using ODRL for
Mm.
describing how the data can be exchanged and used by parties. And then they have a rules engine, enforcement engine, which interprets ODRL and turns it into access rules, et cetera, that is allowed within their data space.
Now, when you interpret ODIL, do you have to enforce it in that one point, or can it be enforced later on?
As I understand, it can be enforced later on. So we're talking about it's kind of like, you know, you apply a Creative Commons license to something. That's
Yeah.
a very generic kind of license. But then you can do more specific rules with ODRL, and it's a W3C standard that lets you extend the vocabulary to your specific profile use case. So
Mm.
you might then give yourself a whole language of terms. Probably ODRL would suit your agent to agent stuff and everything in the because it is just like rule number 1, you are permitted to action under this constraint and you have a duty to this. And then rule number 2, you have, you know, the ability to action with this constraint and this constraint, or and this duty or this prohibition. And it's just one by one by one by one. And then you come up with the terms for it. They have a set list of terms, which is very much because it started with digital media sharing. So those terms are very much related to digital media. But then you can extend it with a profile, which is probably what we're going to be doing with research data, is we're going to extend it with a research data profile and then write our own vocabulary for things that are specific for research data. And I imagine that you would have an agent profile, which would say, my agent is prohibited from, you know, that those things are left operator equals right operator. So you would say, yeah, you would say something like permission to access equals something, you know. So all of those terms would be vocabulary. So I imagine I can't really see you describing what yeah, what permissions and stuff are allowed and disallowed. No, ODRL, but then perhaps you're describing them on a very specific programmatic level. I don't know, but it's something to consider. And I'm digging more deeply into it now. And I must thank you all. I have to go now and pick up my daughter.
Gotcha. I'm going to, Carly, take the action item to connect with Andor Kesselman, who's not a regular here, but you know, and because he's working on exactly that kind of stuff. So I will check with him and get back to you with an answer about, you know,
Yeah.
if he's using ODRL and what his view is on that. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
So
Bye.
thanks for coming. Appreciate it. All right. Excellent discussion. So we have 20 minutes left, and really we're just, unless there's anything else. Brendan has joined us too. Welcome. Just check in with Wenjing and Sam about the state of the spec. I saw a little bit of Slack dialogue, so you know, sort of where things are at, what are the action items, and what are the issues.
Yeah, if you go to the issue list, I can do the two together probably. If
I
you
tell you what, do you want me to go or do you want to just go ahead and share?
I think you can just click
Okay.
on that and go. Yeah.
I can do that. All right. That's going to take me over. Wait a second. Open link to a new tab. That's what I want there. All right.
Yeah, so so these are the open ones. If you click on the close, the 21 closed.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, there you go. So this is what basically happened. I think most of it, if you look at the Rev 2 tag on the bottom half of it, and all those other things that's been done. So I think there's if in a very high level, two big category. One is to sync up with the Caesar 2 specification. Sam, I think we may still leave out a little bit of a tail. Just want to check the status of a Caesar 2, and then we can, close that or whatever small tail is still remaining. But that's the main change. I think we don't have to go through the details again, but that's the majority of the change. And then we ordered the issue number 46, which is the PQC support. So we have a proof of concept for post-quantum cryptography as well. And there's a prototype being implemented that we will at least be able to see how it look like, how big they look like, and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool. So, okay, this is fantastic. Thank you
Yeah.
again for,
So
go ahead.
most of the things we set out to do for Rev 2, I think it's done and the document is updated and all the other, all those issues that been outstanding, they're closed now. And you could move back to the open portion again. We still have a few, so these are, you can see these are quite old. It's essentially things we left to do. For example, providing test vector, we should be able to now, once the Caesar 2 it's all done. We are coding right now, so maybe in a few.
Yeah, I don't think there are any changes in the Caesar stuff from what is in the the discussion for the Caesar implementation
Yeah,
thing. All
yeah.
the codes are stable now.
Yeah, good. So then all we are asking is for everyone is to really read the spec again, provide your feedback if anything's missing. I'm sure I'm gonna read it one more time myself because there will be probably typos and stuff like that still in the draft. And let me see. So the for the remaining non-issues, test vector is waiting for the implementation to happen. We'll probably want to compare with two separate implementations, just make sure those test vectors are correct. Let me see. Yeah, we need to probably double check all the references. There is a security and privacy consideration session we eventually need to write.
Yeah.
Transport mechanism examples. I'm not sure whether we need that here, but we could also write a separate document for informational only for that
Right.
sort of thing, or potentially just reference a implementation like in the open source project itself would have things like that. Oh yeah, about the route. Sam, you talked about, I missed the call last time, but you talked about a alternative routing scheme. That sort of thing. I think we could use this meeting to dive deeper into those because the routing portion is sort of we left it out the precise details of some, which way to do routing. In a way, there's freedom left to do exactly that. And we could also document more than one routing schemes there too. So that's a ongoing discussion could have. A key update, yeah, I remember that section relate to what do we do for key exchanges? Sorry, key
Key rotation.
rotations, sorry. Yeah. And that's very much related to the verifiable, the VID itself, like what kind of a rotation scheme it is. So again, this could be a informational section we want to provide. That's potentially do. The number 6, I don't think the timestamp
I
field
think I think that's obsolete. We don't have a
exactly
timestamp field, so we decided not to do that because you can always embed a timestamp
in the
in the payload, and really
exactly
there isn't much utility in the tunneling for a timestamp.
right. And actually, timestamp it's one of the trust tasks you can put on
Yeah.
to do that. So I think I want to close that. That's number 6.
Okay.
Oh, the 5, I'm sure want to do. So VID type, well, we don't use a type anymore, but the VID examples, we probably want to say a little bit more detail on carry and some of the web data examples. And one of the like data peer, for example. So we want to put a few examples there that will make that section look a bit easier for people to grasp. So that's one outstanding issue there.
Yep.
And handling changes. I forgot what exactly. Oh yeah, this is similar to key rotation. This is for VID changes. And these are informational as well. So they are not part of the spec, but we will say, well, here are various kinds of VIDs and they will have event or changes, right? And how do you, in your implementation, how do you handle? So that will be also informational section for that. So
Okay.
those are the remaining ones that we maybe in the next the second half, we should be able to close them off one by one.
And we're saying the second half as in the second half of the year or
Second half of this year, yeah.
yeah. Okay.
We are in the starting point. Again, I don't believe, I think these are all informational with the exception that routing could be even, its own spec, for instance. But we can discuss at least the alternative routing schemes and what potentially the kind of support TSP need to put in to support those routing schemes. But the routing scheme itself, because it's between intermediaries, in a way, unless it's related to the endpoints, right? Directly related to endpoint, that should be, I think, inside of the TSP spec itself. But if it's between intermediary purely, we could leave them out, or we could have a separate specification for it.
That makes sense to me, but you and Sam are way closer to it. Sam, what was we saw? I just saw in I think Slack some reference to new routing schemes. Is that active work going on?
Well, this was a year ago. So could you open up that issue? Because I'm not remembering
Oh,
what
not this one. This was old. So this is
Yeah.
for passing routing information between intermediaries.
Yeah. So we decided that there's lots of different ways that you could do that.
And it
And
doesn't really need to, because the intermediary can simply have their own high-level application running through between them
yes.
and do all that. Yeah.
So that's like that would be like its own protocol. You would decide that a bunch of intermediaries wanted to interoperate on how they decide to exchange that information.
Yeah.
But that would be like a significant work item in its own respect, and it's not needed for people to stand up TSP intermediaries because the TSP protocol says you're going to have these tables on an intermediary that that the intermediary will provide an API for, so that you configure the table so that it knows how to look up the next hop. And so that doesn't I mean, that means in an intermediary can just publish their API and say this is how you configure it. This
Yeah.
would be for intermediaries to decide that they wanted to all have the same APIs. And until you have people that are standing up intermediaries, you don't really have anybody with skin in the game for deciding
doing
what
that.
that looks like for doing
Exactly.
that.
And they can easily build this on top of a TSP kernel.
Yeah, it doesn't it doesn't delay the TSP protocol anyway, because it's not
Right.
TSP isn't dependent on that information. This is
Yeah.
really another type of protocol, that is in the family of TSP, where you say, oh, well, we've got lots of intermediaries and we want to have standard APIs for configuring routing information.
Exactly. So I would say the number 8 itself, we will probably close it because we don't need to add that to the TSP itself. What I was referring to earlier was, Sam, your discussion in the last call 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, if you want to spend some time on that, it's not it's just a corner case, and so I thought about it and said, okay, well, in this corner case, it'd be more efficient to do it this way, but it isn't essential for the TSP. So I just wanted to bring up the corner case to see if there was interest. If there's interest, then we might consider adding it. If there's not serious interest, then it just remains a corner case.
Good.
So I'm happy to go over that.
Good. All right.
Do you want to spend time on that now or not?
I think we should maybe not today because we don't have
Okay. All
enough
right.
time for it.
We only have 8 minutes left.
Yeah, but
Okay.
maybe as a we have plenty of time, and that we could discuss it again in one of the future meetings.
Okay.
So I'm going to note that Wenjin, you're going to go ahead and close whatever issues that we just discussed that you think are, that we don't need in the open issues list. Did we decide that that the routing protocol, if there's going to be such a thing, it would be a separate protocol? And if so, do we want to say something about that in the spec? What do you think?
The spec always says that, so
Oh.
that's always the case. There are some events or things that need to be covered in TSP, and the TSP otherwise doesn't constrain what the intermediary do with each other.
Okay.
Just make sure they have the information they need to do it. The details exactly how they want to do among themselves, it's really a transparent decision or a orthogonal decision for the intermediaries. And as Sam suggested, they could decide to put up a formal protocol of some kind, or simply agree on an API of some kind too, and that will certainly be good. And all these security needs can be satisfied by running whatever API they have over TSP, and so that they will become an application in that case.
Okay. So do we need to say anything different than what's in the spec right now? In other words, is there any
No.
action item there? Okay.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
So
But this group could discuss it as a
yeah,
interesting topics, right?
so it does sound like that would be a good topic for a subsequent call, which takes me to the last.
Maki has a hands up.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Maki, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks a bunch actually, and I think as usual, like great progress. And I've joined a bit late today. My question was regarding the how big the TSP could go in terms of being as well a pipe versus an envelope. So is it supposed to work both ways as a transportation protocol as well as a trust layer, or it's only going to be a trust layer in most of the times?
I would say both. So so our terminology we say is a trust layer, and the trust layer can run over any type of transport. And again, this we use the word transport not necessarily like in the ISO 7-layer transport definition, but basically something that provide us end-to-end reachability. For instance, IP protocol itself could be, or UDP, or even any kind of a layer 2 technology, for example, because if your end-to-end is simply within that network, you could use this for your trust layer as well. And so in that sense, it's very general. And we could provide, I think one of the open issues is write some informational documentation on how you might go about implementing or leveraging TSP for various kinds of different transport environment.
Yeah, if I could add something, when we use the word trust in these contexts, trust is a highly polysemous term, which means it has multiple meanings. And so the trust spanning protocol, the we're defining, isn't a trust layer or a trust source or a trust thing in the sense that, say, a trust registry is something that you trust, or a root of trust is something that you trust. What it is doing is basically tunneling things that could be trust tasks that are evaluated at a higher level, but tunneling them in a way that does not decrease or weaken
Yeah.
the security, confidentiality, and privacy of the trusted information that you're conveying.
Yeah,
So,
in a way, the keyword is spanning. It does
yes,
spanning. The
it
trust that you,
spans trust. So if I
yeah,
have trust here and I want to move that trust to from point A to point B, the stress spanning protocol allows you to do that without hopefully
gradient.
removing the trust that was in A, right? The trust stays there, but it itself isn't a source of trust. If you can't trust what's in A, the stress protocol doesn't make A any more trustworthy. It just
Exactly.
right. So if you start with a weak trust root of trust, or a weak trust entity, or a identity system, then the trust spanning protocol doesn't imbue any more trust to it than it started with. The idea is the trust spanning protocol doesn't decrease the trust by virtue of moving it across the trust spanning protocol, which is not true of the internet. The internet actually, by moving stuff across the internet, you weaken trust every time you do that, and that's a problem with the internet. Is that it is a it is a I can't. I'm trying to think of the word. Not moderates it. Yeah, it attenuates trust. The internet is a trust attenuator, and we want the trust spanning protocol to not attenuate trust as you move through it.
Yeah,
Very
and
well said.
then because of that property, you potentially could, for example, use TSP in your solution to maintain accountability or reputation, that sort of thing, because you can go back and forth without losing it. So now you can accumulate.
Ah, that's well put.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
I've got a if I've got an if every time I send something through my pipe, it attenuates it, then I have a difficult time accumulating anything, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm always fighting. Oh, it's like I lose. It's like it's a transmission, right? If
Yeah.
my transmission is only 50% efficient, it's really hard for me to go anywhere, because I'm wasting all of my energy on the transmission, not actually moving
Yeah.
the vehicle itself.
Yeah, and that's why the existing trust tasks like authentication, authorization are so difficult, because every single time you have to start from scratch.
Yes,
You
every single
cannot
time you have to
accumulate.
start from scratch. Gentlemen, I love this dialogue. Maki, I hope you're getting your question answered. I'm gonna almost go back. I might go back to the recording because there's so many good things being said, but I have to jump on another call at 9, as probably a bunch of the rest of you do. Thank you, Jeff, and everyone else has been. I'm gonna save the chat too at the same time. And so last single question. Are we wanting to continue to meet every 2 weeks during August, or do we want to take a what many task forces do, take a August sabbatical, start back up in September? Any quick thoughts on that?
My only ask is for you guys to read the published draft and give me feedback on where I may have missed. Other than that, I'm happy to see sabbatical time, man.
So if
How
we
about
give everyone the
7 weeks
task,
to Greece.
yeah, you know, I'm not saying 7 weeks. I was just saying, basically, resume regular meetings in August. I mean, in September, just because August tends to be a heavy vacation month.
Yes.
If folks are generally in favor of that, I'll just update the schedule. But let's stay on top of everyone actually getting that full read through on the spec, because I think that would be. I know I need to do that, and it would be great. All right. Thank you, everyone, very much. On to our next set of calls. And super great. I want to thank, Wenjing, Sam, everyone who's, this is really tremendous progress. And it's going to be a very exciting fall with getting TSP out there. With that, thanks all, and I'll finish up our meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.